All right, so now we're going to talk about the three, and this will conclude this series. With this, you'll understand the idea of a thought. Okay, each thought that goes through your mind, each and every second, really, the whole time, every time you're thinking of something, this is the process that happens. All right, so now you know this. So now all you have to do is with your discernment given to you by your mind of Christ is that you then just understand the intent of the person casting that spell to you or those words to you. Once you understand their intent, you can then either pick up or concern yourself with that tone or leave alone, meaning don't engage. Okay? Because these nines, like I told you before, these are the idols within your mind. These are what you, when you walk forward in life, this is what you stake your life on. You're like, this is a fact. That's what a nine is. It's a fact. All right? Something that's not a fact, but it's something that you believe can still linger kind of in that seven realm we talked about yesterday. Kind of just the idea of you're thinking about it, you're not quite sure, but if push came to shove, you're not quite up to that yet. You haven't quite put that idol on the shelf. All right. So then we talked about how that idol is then presented to you in the cube. The idea of the 6 sides, 8 corners surrounds this idea that you are thinking about, you are processing, going through the numbers, going through the details, and once the details meet your self-imposed, because you're God, right? So once they meet your self-imposed guidelines, and wherever they might be, you place that idol into idol status, worship the most worshipful status, and you place it on the shelf. All right. So what we're doing is we're busting all these things up. We're sweeping out the attic. We're destroying the worlds that have infected men's and women's minds since the beginning of time. And then once that temple is swept clean, God, because God will not, and the truth will not, and has no part of hypocrisy. None. Okay? So with that in mind, anytime you see a story where the logical chain breaks, something that is absolutely logical, if A is true, then step B should be this and C should be this. But if you see within a story that step A is supposedly true for all, but yet step B is only applicable to this, step C is only applicable to that, step D is applicable sometimes, it's hypocrisy. It has no part of the truth, therefore it is a lie. Therefore you discover the intent just by observing the details of the story. All right? So don't put it up in the temple. Discard it. And then you're able... Here's the thing. You can't help people out of a system while you're inside. You can only pull people up from outside, because if you're trying to push people from inside, you're just playing grab ass by the end of the day. All right? So moving forward, now we're going to talk about the next stage then, the 3. You see already, if you wanted to jump into farther detail, you can see how it could be the idea of the 3 9s or the 5 7. You see how this calculation happens. That's what's called somebody thinking logically. That's where this snake eats its tail activity happens. And I showed you that in the 4-into-1 light, discern light video. I also showed you that in the $2 bill demon video. Actually, I put this into motion for you in a physics engine, and you can actually see this thought. You can see the understanding and the idea of a thought. All right, in full display for you. You can see what that actually looks like. All right. So then going through this, if you go through it, remember we talked about how that top layer of the deception or the idea, or it's a truth as well. That's the understanding. Remember, intent matters. If somebody is not lying to you, it's going to be this same system. So intent makes all the difference. It's that reflection. It's what adds that 33. It's what gives you that 33. Because remember, I told you that if you're looking across a still pond and you look at, there's a building and a tree and a bench and some grass, when you look at that reflection, a third of that image you see in real life is going to be missing in the reflection. A third, 33% is missing. And that is where the deception, that is where the lie is hidden. That is where most people's minds are kept, in that box, that very small controlled box. All right. So then you see this next layer down is just that mirrored reflection. Okay. It's just that 12, because you have the 21, which I told you is the 777. The idea of the blackjack, the idea of getting hit in the head. All right, with the fruitless information, with something that is not true. It's not from God, because if a man or a woman speaks to you a truth of God, they are speaking God's words. If they are speaking anything other than God's words, it is a lie. Okay? It's very simple, because God's truth can then be tested, and it will come out exactly perfect each and every time. All right. So then you see how this is a mirrored, opposite, reflective world I talked about. So now we are in the idea of creation of a 3. Now we're to the idea, we've already seen the temple. It's already been put on the shelf, the idol. We see how that final decision was made, because you had contained the idea within that spiritual box called your mind, and you decided that by the details it was true. But let's look at how it physically came to you, and that's introduced in this 3 realm. All right, that's the idea of the 1, the 2, then in the 3. All right, so let me just forward through that. I just made a little design. So this includes a lot. That's you back there, and you come into contact with something. You can see that I've placed 2 lines, and those are the crossed bones. Those are the missing notes, because within this system there's 2 missing notes. All right, and that's the 1 and the 2. They're silent because they are not within this physical space. All right, all of this happens within this physical space. That's all within your body, within your what you can call your mind and your body. This happens outside of that space. This happens in the spiritual space. This happens to where something is put out, a tone is put out, and you have to decide. That tone, that idol is put out. You either have to decide if you're going to include it as something you want to concern yourself with, which is a 1, or something you're not going to concern yourself with because it's a hoax and it's a 0, thus you leave it alone. If you concern yourself with it, the crossed bones go across. That's the 9, 1, 1, which is you, because you are this, you are this, you are the 1. Then that goes into what is called the 3, which is the ring, meaning that you brought it to life. So the 1, it's an idea. You heard something. The 2 is you decided to concern yourself with it. The 1, the 2. Now you're at 2. You've concerned yourself with it. Now you physically have to become part of it. And that's the 3. That's the first bell ring. The 3, the 6, the 9. The 3 is when you decide it's a concern. The 6 is when you physically handle it and actually waste time dealing with it. The 9 is when you put it onto your shelf and it becomes an idol, which becomes part of your life. That is the basic 369 system, and it works all the time, every single time, about everything that you come into contact with, absolutely without fail. This process happens for everything that you come into contact with, everything. Now, do you also notice that it looks like an envelope? The idea of once you envelop these ideas, that it becomes an envelopment, or an idea of a mask, right? So it does. It will mask. I put it here above just because of the thing going on now, just over the nose and mouth, just to show you. But you could put it over the entire face, because it's a mask, because it then blinds you to the truth. It becomes a blinder. All right. So no worries. Like I say, we are left in this world. Our job is to save those who are still fumbling and falling into this law, this water. Because if you're standing here, let me draw a line real quick. If you're standing above this, right? If you're, and this is going to be very bad. In fact, let me pause this and draw the little dude. Okay, I drew a little dude up there. Let me show you something. Well, let me get to this real quick. Whoops. And then I need to drag it over. So this little dude right here, I put a privacy marker because some people might be offended. But this little dude is looking at this pond. And remember that 9 I talked about? Remember that idea? Right? He's looking down and he's about to pick it up. And when he picks it up, it's right here. Then he physically goes through that process we talked about. Then it may or may not become a temple or a idol in his temple. All right. So, anyways, cheers. Be blessed. It's all good.